In the beginning, there was CORONAGRUMP, and then there was the GRUMP. I now welcome you to GRUMP Live, where readers of the blog will be joining me for a lively and spirited moan. So joining me today, first of all from Hong Kong, is Andrea Ritchie. Andrea champions the Shark Foundation, Hong Kong Shark Foundation, and strives to save sharks all over the planet. She's also a vigorous proponent of veganism, so that might give us all something to chew on. Ludo van Buren lives in Islamabad with me, and he's a lively, energetic person. And I have never, ever heard him grump about anything. So maybe today we're going to be able to change all that. Jonathan Stapleton, he's a pal based in the UK who I've known since I was at school. We were at school together, but we've only recently reconnected. But Jonathan also writes a monthly grumpy blog under the pseudonym of Jack Bullet. So I'm sure he's got plenty to moan about as well. Another pal from the UK, who I was also at school with, has just moved in to a new house. So I'm sure he's going to have lots to bitch about regarding builders and internet connections in new houses. Vaccination ditherers and vaccination pass cards. And where are we going to go with that? Andrea, why don't you kick off with vaccination ditherers in Hong Kong and what you think about it?
Well, we're a population of around 7.5 million. And we have, I think we have bought about 7 million vaccinations, and there are 6 million left over. And I'm putting them in the post tomorrow and sending them to India.
Good. Well, I'm sure they'll be very grateful.
But yeah, it's pretty shocking. You know, in Hong Kong, it's mandatory, like I think most colonies and in the UK, where when you're a kid, you have to get a little booklet with all of your vaccinations before you're allowed to attend school. And I don't know why people are resisting it so much here, because they're all used to getting vaccinated in order in the name of public health. So I think it's mostly their way of voting against the our friends up in the north. And you know, and just basically the media is hyped it every time someone dies within, you know, like 50, 60 days of getting a shot. They say, oh, it must be because of that. So that's been very bad. I don't see why the Chinese Communist Party just doesn't march in here and force everybody to get vaccinated like they do other things.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Ludo, do you want to air a view?
Yeah, I wanted to say something because, you know, to pick up on Andrea when she was talking about the fact that vaccines are not new, and then you get your booklet and you get the vaccination. I think it is the first time in history that people go, excuse me, who made this vaccine? Because in the past, you got yellow fever vaccine, you didn't go like, oh, well, but it was made over here. So now we have this like snobism. Oh, you got Pfizer, very nice. Oh, you got Sinopharm. Oh my God, what's gonna happen to you? It's like, who cares? Get the vaccine. Because, you know, in the past, there was never a problem. There were like many manufacturers of vaccines. You either got the vaccine or you didn't get the vaccine. Today, the dealers are the ones that don't want it. They're like, well, I'm waiting for Pfizer to come. This is what we see in Pakistan. They're like, oh, should I get Sputnik? Because I'm not really sure. Maybe I should get something else. It's like, come on, no, just take it.
Yeah,
and that's,
you know, you say that. You say that, but you went to some extreme measures to get a vaccination yourself.
Well, simply because the Norwegian embassy did not allow me to get a vaccine that was not approved in Norway. So fuck it, I went on an airplane and I got the one that I could get in the US, Johnson & Johnson, in one shot. But the point was I would have taken it. I mean, I said to my wife, I will take Sinopharm, I will take CanSino, I will take any of them because what I don't want is stay unvaccinated. And she said, well, you're not allowed, as a husband of a diplomat, you're not allowed to take vaccines that are not approved in the US. So I said, fine, I'm going to the US tomorrow. And that's what I did.
So, as a statement of grumpiness. Now,
Well, I'm
gentlemen,
looking forward to
in the UK, Jonathan,
I'm looking forward to my third vaccine.
third.
I'm looking forward to my third vaccine, and I've asked for Sputnik because I rather like the idea of that one.
Yeah.
And I'm all for vaccine passports. Having 2 passports, a third passport would be great.
Look, anybody who's been to Africa is used to having a yellow booklet. If you've
Correct.
ever traveled to Africa, you
Yeah.
had to have your little booklet and they ask you for it, and then that's
Anywhere.
it. So I don't understand what the big deal is, because if you've traveled anywhere, it's not a new thing that they ask you to have a vaccine to get into the country. So, I don't care what form you take. I don't care if it's an app. I don't care if it's a booklet and so on. Just let me put it in and let's go.
But I was just going to say, in Hong Kong, it's people say, well, we're going to wait and see if it's safe. And we're like, what? And the 6 million leftover vaccinations expire if February 1. So the government is now enticing them with carrots, right? Yeah, because they're too weak to set up sticks. So they're enticing them with carrots. So there's a 10 million Hong Kong dollar, that's about 1.2 million US, flat that's going into a lottery. And now they talked about today, Curry Lam said that
You have a great new name. I think Curry Lam will be a very good name for the leader, given Hong Kong's love of food. So there we are.
Carrie Lam, sorry, said that she was going to offer 1 year free MTR pass in a lottery. And, they're really getting creative now.
But they're doing something like that in the States, aren't they? There's a lottery for huge amounts of money.
Very similar. But the thing is that, we have had 0 cases really, in the last 2 weeks, we've only had like 5 cases total. Okay. And yesterday we had 1 case and it was a police officer, and today we had 0 cases. So people are saying, well, we don't even have it here, so why do we need to take it? Right? It's just ignorance. And the government is not being strong. I mean, they're perfectly strong when 2 million people go out to protest the fact, that we have no freedom of speech or freedom of assembly anymore. But when it comes to social public health, they're not willing to step on it and put their foot down on it.
Simply take WHO to say today, 100% of the people that died from COVID were not vaccinated. If you say that, then there you go. It's very straightforward, because I think that until you come out and you just tell it, as well, because I'm tired of the press going, oh, the guy, jumped out of an airplane and his parachute didn't open and he died of COVID. I mean, there's not, so let's just be realistic. And then just say, all the people that have from COVID were not vaccinated, and then you'll be done. Then you want to die, then don't vaccinate. That's fine.
I think we should find an island somewhere and put everybody who doesn't want the jab on it.
Yes.
It's
Should we
called
call
the
it
UK.
England?
Yeah.
Peter,
You set yourself up for that, Jonathan. Sorry.
Peter, what are your thoughts on passports for vaccinations and vaccination ditherers?
I think that vaccination ditherers should probably be shot. I don't have any problem at all with vaccination passports. It just seems common sense to me.
Excellent.
But you might need to edit that bit, Peter.
No, we won't. We won't. We'll send them to China or Russia or.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They shouldn't be shot, but they maybe should be tied down and forcibly injected like they do in Russia and China.
Yeah.
Well, I believe Antarctica is nobody owns, so they could send them there.
Come on, there's a few openings that the Uyghurs can just step out for a while, and we can send those people in, right?
Yeah, North Korea, they don't have any cases, so that would be a good place to send everybody. and perhaps we could defer to our representatives from the UK to tell us a little bit about just how daft everything is there. Peter.
I mean, what can you say about Boris? He can't lie straight in bed. He's a liar. He's a, you know, he's a bit like Trump, but he's getting things done. So he got married, which was good.
He's the only prime minister to have got divorced and married in his first term in office.
And in the right order.
Yes. Jonathan, do you have a comment?
Well, Boris is not my favorite person, and neither is Princess Nuts, who's of course Carrie Symonds. But I like what the Times described Boris Johnson's flaws as being a serial liar, buffoonery, incompetence, shagging anything that moves or doesn't, inability to grasp detail, financial ineptitude, all baked into our perception that he's a good leader. Yeah, it just shows that populist leaders are here to stay, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, or no, it must be more than that now, it must be 5 years ago, thinking it was impossible. And I was kind of laughing at the idea that Trump would be president and Boris would be prime minister. I just didn't think it was going to be possible at all for that to happen. And God help us, it's happened.
And Trump might come back again?
This happened, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a total disaster, wouldn't it?
I don't know if you guys get to read the Times very much, but they're always quoting Boris, and they call Carrie Symonds, of course, Princess Nuts, which is the what Dominic Cummings labelled her. Boris is obviously surrounded by angry women and weeping women. But he's so scared of Carrie that the appointment to press secretary at Downing Street, of course, was against everybody's advice, appointed a friend of hers, as well as obviously spending 2.6 million on a new press room, state-of-the-art press room. So, and Boris was quoted as saying that he didn't want the antagonism, so he gave in and let this woman be appointed against everybody's advice, because he has to listen to Carrie, otherwise his life's not worth living. So she's a woman without portfolio that is allowed to make illegal appointments.
But no, I think I've got very little time for Boris. I mean, we seem to be a bit of a banana republic, really. And yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to end, but I suspect it'll be tears.
I think we've moved to the far right, and we've become more the English nationalist party, or the Tory party has become the English nationalist party. And of course, a leader with an 80-seat majority has no opposition. So Britain, or England rather, England is turning into a totalitarian state.
Unassailable, unassailable. Israel it is. So
this is what the guy that lives in a Muslim country goes like this.
If you were Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, what would you do about veganism?
Well, first of all, I make everybody watch Seaspiracy.
Yeah, brilliant.
And Cowspiracy.
Oh, I haven't watched Cowspiracy. Okay.
Very good. And then Game Setters, what is it? Game Changers, I think it's called, which is about focusing on men and athletes and, you know, how eating meat affects your sexual performance as a man. And it really goes after the American gridiron football players and, you know, just people who think they're really macho. It has Game Changers has Arnold Schwarzenegger in there. I mean, you can't get much more, you know, Ani, right? You can't get much more built than that. So what I would say is, first of all, they have to watch those. movies and then we can have a chat. But what I also talk to my students about, I say that every day a person who eats a vegan diet saves 1,100 gallons of water, 45 pounds of grain, 30 square feet of forest, 20 pounds of CO2, and the life of one animal. And, and then I'd let them refute that.
Yes, Ludo.
Yeah, I fall more in between. I did watch Seaspiracy and made me really think about eating seafood. So that was really a tough one. But I will tell you something. So I've lived in Nepal the last 3 years, and I've now lived in Pakistan 1 year. And so two of the poorest countries in Southeast Asia. And I recently took a trip to the US. And when I walked into the supermarket in the US, I really felt uncomfortable with the amount of food that was there, in the meat section, in the fish section, even in the canned food and so on. I really had this overwhelming feeling of like, this is not sustainable. This is not going to end well, and this was like just one supermarket in one small town in the US. And then suddenly it hit me the scale at which, we're doing things. So, I'm not all the way on the vegan side. I'm somewhere in between, but I definitely think that this is out of control now and that we really need to step that back. So I run the farmers market here in Islamabad, where we're trying to, get back to local producers and that sort of thing. And I think that the idea is somewhere in the middle, but this industrialization and, the level at which it's gone, I mean, I was flabbergasted. I mean, in the meat section, there was probably, I don't know, a ton of meat in that supermarket, 1,000 kilo of meat, and I'm like, this is like one supermarket in several hundreds of thousands, if not more, in the whole of the United States. And if you then add Europe and the rest of the world to this, you go, where are we finding all? I mean, this is not going to work.
The scale of it is staggering. I remember going into, when I was working in the earlier days of hospitality, working in the Savoy Group, and I went to Smithfield's Market, which is the meat market for London. It's acres and acres and acres of carcasses daily. Mind-boggling, quite mind-boggling.
Right.
So,
right. And so this is where, so that's where I got out of the Seaspiracy documentary. It was the sheer size of what we're doing, and the depletion, of the ocean, because obviously it's all wild in that situation. I mean, we've on the meat side, we've hunted down everything there is to be hunted and eaten. So we make up, we grow the rest of this stuff. But on the fish side, we still are just catching the wild things, and it pretty soon going to be empty, just the way our forest and the rest of the. So it's not good. So
many people in the world, Ludo. I think it's time we changed our diet and started eating people. Yes, I agree with what you say about vegetarianism and veganism and all that, and eating less animals. But the problem the world faces, there's just too many people.
Right.
So actually, we need less people. So you could argue that COVID hasn't killed enough people. Really?
Well,
because,
excuse me, one could argue that, but what one actually needs is a more efficient virus.
Well, it's coming.
Let's move on to that on another occasion. Peter.
The trouble with COVID is that it's killing off the people who are not likely to be producing more children, because I'm sure that it doesn't apply to any of us, but normally the people are of such an age that they're past it.
We actually really need to go for the children.
We do.
Okay. I'd like to thank all our grumpy participants for joining us on this inaugural GRUMP Live. Andrea, Peter, Ludo, and Jonathan, thank you very much for coming along. We will look forward to another GRUMP Live, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.